If you're a kid who is perpetually stuck on the JV team and doesn't want to be, this video is talking directly to you. And this might be the only video on the internet that's talking to the kids that suck at things. So, if you got 10 minutes, just listen real close. And I'm going to tell you what I wish I knew back then and what I wish my coach knew. Now, the sad part of it is my dad knew and he tried to tell me, but, wasn't listening to dad at the time. What does he know, right? Old man. But he knew and he understood that lifting weights and sports were real important, but it didn't sink in until, 20 something years later. Today I'm going to riff on my high school athletic career a little bit and talk about the things that I wish I had done differently. So I graduated in 1996 from Washburn High School in South Minneapolis, and during my time there, spent 3 years doing cross country, Nordic skiing, and track, long distance track. Never really did very well in any of those. I did manage to claw my way into varsity on the cross country team my senior year, but that was a product of, by accident, getting a little stronger than I had been in the previous years. But again, it took me over 20 years to figure this out. So, and on that team, there was a guy, Joel, and he was built a lot like a Greek god, you might say. Pretty lean, really good, really pretty muscular kid. And he would win all the time. And, second place, not even really close. Maybe if they were having a real good day, it would be a quarter mile behind, second place would be. And, but he never ran with us, never did the, cross-country practices that we all did, running and endlessly running, 500 miles a season sometimes. And we could never figure it out. And apparently none of us ever had the sense to ask him because no one ever did. We all just sat there wondering what he did. Well, as it turns out, Joel would go to the weight room while we were running and he would lift heavy weights and he would get real strong. And then maybe after the workout, after he got done there, he would maybe go for a run just to keep up the form. But, he was a big dude. He was built like a runner, don't get me wrong, and he was a pretty decent natural athlete to begin with. But he had the sense to somehow learn how to take advantage of that as best he could. And he figured out that running wasn't going to do it, that he needed to lift weights. And it worked out real well for him. And so that's what you're going to do. You're going to lift weights. Some kids are built naturally pretty strong. A lot of coaches are fairly talented athletes that turned into a coach. And they don't necessarily have the experience solving the problems that a naturally weak kid has. So growing up, I was never as strong as anybody around me, it seemed like. Could never jump as high, could never run as fast, just couldn't do the things. And I just didn't have the genetics that were, geared for that kind of thing. I had band trumpet player genetics, although at least the trumpet player can play an instrument and I can play the radio. That's how it went. But if I had it to do over again, I would have lifted weights 3 days a week and then, ran on the off days for form. And, you need some conditioning, right? The race is 3.2 miles. And you got to be able to keep it up. So you need some conditioning in there. But you don't want to be operating on what amounts to a lawnmower engine, up against, the kid that gets first place, who's operating on a pretty decent V8, right? Because they're going fast and you're not, and the difference is horsepower. Because things like cross country and long distance track are not explosive sports. There's a quasi sprint involved at the beginning and the end, but that's about it, right? The rest of it is cruising speed. And if you take, let's just say, the first place kid and the last place kid, one of the immediate things you should notice is the amount of muscle mass each one of them has. And the kid in last place has no definition to speak of. And we need to change that to bring him up. And a coach that could just do things isn't going to come up with this on his own. And he may not even know how to lift weights. And so you might need to find somebody. And if you need somebody, well, you can go to our website and click on the contact form, and we can do some coaching over the interwebs, because you can do that nowadays. And you can get some gear over there too if you end up enjoying it enough to do that kind of thing. But yeah, we need to swap out your lawnmower engine for a bigger engine. And so how do you do that? Well, you're going to run a starting strength linear progression. And starting strength has a book and an audio book that you can download, and it will run you through all of these things. Their YouTube channel has videos on how to do all these exercises that you can look up, because this video is not going to show it. And I'll put a link in the notes below. But you're gonna come in and you're gonna eat a whole bunch of food, okay? Because you're lifting weights and you're putting on muscle mass and you're putting on mass, generally speaking, and you need calories. And so if you don't like to eat, get ready to run up your parents' grocery bill quite a bit. And you're gonna come in and you're gonna squat, press, and deadlift day number 1. And you're gonna do 3 sets of 5 on the squat and the press for as much weight as you can do with decent form. And then you're going to deadlift for a heavy set of 5 with decent form. And, and they're not going to feel natural, but that will come. Don't worry about it right away. Concentrate on form, and, come back the next Wednesday. Yeah, come back on Wednesday, and you're going to squat again for plus 5 pounds. So whatever you did, plus 5 pounds. And then you're going to bench press for whatever you can do with good form for 3 sets of 5. And then you're going to deadlift again, add 5 pounds. Friday, repeat Monday's workout, except everything has 5 pounds added to it. And then Monday, you're going to repeat Wednesday's workout, and you're going to add 5 pounds to it. And you're just going to do that. I'm like, seriously? You don't need anything more than this. You don't need fancy Bulgarian split squats. You don't need hamstring curls. You don't need any of that stuff. In fact, that stuff is going to leave progression on the shelf. You don't need it. Those things are later, like way later. Don't worry about it. People will try to push these things on you, and they are wrong. So just ignore them and do your thing. And you're going to eat a lot of food. You're going to need 4,000 calories a day, at least. And lots of meat. Lots of meat. You're going to eat lots of hamburger, lots of chicken. You're probably going to be sick of it, but, push through, get the muscle on. And you'll be able to do this for probably 3 or 6 months without having really to change anything. You just keep repeating A and B, and you're going to get very strong. You can probably carry your squat up to around 300 pounds before you have to change anything. Maybe the deadlift, after a little while, you decide, hey, this is getting really heavy for every single time I do this. Maybe you set that off for every other time or once a week or something like that, and you fill in the space with power cleans or chin ups or something like that. Power cleans are probably the best thing to add in, although they can be a little challenging to get the hang of. But, great for practicing the explosive power that you are capable of. And that's it. It's that easy. And then, if you just got done with a season, it doesn't matter what the sport is. I just use cross country because that's what I did. But whatever the sport may be, if you just got done with one, you got 9 months to do this, and you can come back a completely different person. To the point where people might accuse you of using steroids, and you're not. Well, I mean, you kind of are because you're a teenager, and by default, you are swimming in testosterone. But, you can come back a completely different person, almost unrecognizable. And you should, right? Because you're doing something, and if you want to succeed, this is how you can succeed within the limits of your ability, right? People like me, we have the genetics of a donkey, and might have a perfectly fine personality, be handsome enough, but we will never be a racehorse, and that's why we don't sprint the 100-meter dash, right? That's why we do cross country and long distance track and things like that. So lift the weights, gain some weight. If you want to take off the weight at the end of the training period, and get ready for the season, hey, nothing wrong with that. But you will have completely changed your ability to do things for the better. And if you're still watching this channel when you're done with it, I would sure like to know how it goes. You can leave something in the comments or send us a message on the website and let us know how it goes. It'd be interesting to hear the success stories about it. And if you need any coaching, you can head to our website over at Atlas Leather and fill out a contact form, and we can certainly set something up if you need some pointers. But yeah, go lift weights, win, succeed, and hope you do well. Take care.